Good afternoon. Welcome to Options Tender. It is Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. April 15th, 2024. We are getting our follow through from last week. We had our video on Friday showing some changing character of the market, and we thought that it would kind of leave us in limbo there for the week. And we'll jump into this. We have SPY on the weekly time frame. We'll go down to 65. We'll check out the other indices, the VIX, and I'll talk about a lot of the mega tech stocks. And just, stick around here. I want to talk about those stocks because they have not hit their options expected move for the week yet. And it looks like we're going to have a pretty negative week. So we have more room to the downside. Okay, that's the moral of this story. And if you're new here, go down to that bottom right hand corner, hit that Options Center logo, and subscribe. So we're going to jump into this right now. We have SPY on the weekly time frame. We stopped the last week on Friday right at that 8 EMA. The 8 EMA, if you're new here, is our trend indicator on the weekly time frame. We stopped right at it. It was in the center of this consolidation area, and now we're breaking to the downside. We did add some more shorts on the bounce that we had earlier today, and we're starting to get into some micro support here. You see that's the bottom of these weekly time frames. We're kind of right at that area at the 505 right now. So is this it for today? Possibly, but I do think that we may see a gap down tomorrow, or at least continuation to the downside tomorrow. And we'll get into some of those targets. So make sure you stick around. If you don't have time to watch this full video, then at least check out those targets that I'm going to show you on SPY on the 65-minute time frame. And also we're going to go through, again, if you're new, I'm going to go through our projected pathway for the market. One's bullish, one's bearish, but they're both bearish in the near term. So here we go. Let's continue on. So our next spot here, if you notice some resistance in these weekly time frames, is around the 500 area. So just keep that in mind. But for the weekly time sake, we're looking for the next stop to be around this 20 simple moving average for the weekly time frame. Now I drew this channel here. We have 3 beautiful touches, and if you count all of we rode up this channel top, at least this trend line to the top, quite a bit here, quite a few weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks or so. And now I'm just kind of projecting the bottom of the channel off of this point. Okay, so that's not necessarily a good trend line yet, because there's only one point here. These dashed lines are more of a possible support than this one so far. But I just wanted to put this in the time frame, because if and when we get down to this area, we want to know if this holds. This could be a good channel for support, and maybe we make new highs. Remember, we have this trend line that we didn't quite hit. This is from 2000, way back to 2000, hit the top of 2022, and we didn't get there this time around. So do we have a drop to retest these consolidation areas and the breakout zones, and then a pop up to the trend line? That's a viable situation. And to the downside here, we're looking on this weekly time frame, this big consolidation area. So our first stop for that would be right around this 473, 472 area. And then we have a possible channel bottom. We have the lower end of this consolidation area, which would be a great support. It once was resistance, and then support here, resistance, the former high at this point, and support here. So this would be a massive area to get to down low here. And then if price wants to spike a little bit further, we have another possible dash line all the way down by the 100 simple moving average. You have the 50 right here. So that's a huge area down here by 455. Okay, let's check out the oscillators. We finally got our crossover. You see there's a red histogram. That means we're getting our bearish cross here, and we can finally move this circle. I like to put these circles at the cross area. So we finally got that. We're getting weak here on the RSI after negative divergence. And the slow stoke, we had that sell signal on Friday that we're looking at here. So we had the sell signal, and now price is moving with the oscillator. Let's move down to the daily time frame. A daily trend is our friend. So the traditional technical analysis, we have sort of the same point of view. We have that consolidation area while we're zoomed out here that we'll be looking to get into. That's the 473 right here, 472. And then we have layers of support after we get to this point. 200-day moving average, 465. That standard deviation move from the point of control, the volume node. There's one standard deviation move at about 460. And then we made, it appears, about 2 standard deviation moves from this point of control in this blow off top. So we had these confluences of resistance up here from, this would be our primary trend line for our expanding ending diagonal, which is a pattern for a blow off top. We also had a channel that we drew from 2 points at the bottom here, and then from a resistance area here all the way to the top. And then finally, a resistance from this wedge, this very steep bearish rising wedge. And so now we can zoom in. That's our confluence where we were trying to get our reversal from. We got it. And then our main support for continuation for this head and shoulder pattern was right around this 513 area. We talked about it on Friday. We broke down from it, so that was a sell signal for us. We're underneath this 8 EMA trending to the downside, and we paused, just like I mentioned on Friday, because they don't want to give you too many clues. We paused right at the 50-day moving average. It's the simple moving average, and we bounced off of it into today and retested this breakdown area, and that coincided right with that 8 EMA. So that's where we added on another set of puts in the near term. Those were for Wednesday. We also added on to some of the Megatech stocks puts for this week and next week. And now price is breaking underneath the 50. So this is an important breakdown here. And we're almost to that consolidation area. I think this zone will be a good spot for some choppiness to start to happen as we complete some wave counts. And we'll go through those wave counts on the lower time frame. We'll spend most of our time on SPY. And like I said, then we'll just check out QQQ just to look at it. And then VIX and possibly IWM, but then we'll check out some of those mega tech stocks. So right now, let's look at, here's our pattern, our expanding ending diagonal, aka blow off top. We've had this line in here for some time. I won't touch it yet, so we can continue to look at it from our this line here, our projection. But this is our expanding ending diagonal. You see the trend line here, the trend line to the top. And if you are new to this channel, this is a sort of a blow off top. We have a 3-wave. This is 5 waves. So it's a motive wave with 3 waves in each. So we have an A, B, C for 1. And I got to label that correctly. I don't have these ABCs. I have those ABCs as if the one was here, which we had to move it because of the price that we got to. So ABC for 1, ABC for 2. And now these waves start expanding. Wave 3 is longer than wave 1. Wave 4 is longer than wave 2. And finally, the blow off top, we have wave 5 up here, which ended right at that 172 zone. That's the extension from the entire 2022 correction. So from the top to bottom, we have an extension up here all the way up to 127.2. Now, there is another extension higher if price wants to go above. That's around the 460 zone. I'll show you the other projection that says that we go higher. And so we'll keep this in mind if we have that scenario play out. Now, our primary scenario is that we're getting our correction now, and we're going to hopefully test around these highs here, around 460. Doesn't have to get all the way to that zone, but that would make sense to us, where the bulls and the bears both will fight again and say, okay, now it's time to go to new highs, or we get a dead cat bounce and head lower. Okay, so that's our primary, is that we get down to these zones, we test probably that 200-day moving average along with this former top, dead cat bounce, head lower, and not in a straight line, you guys. That's not how it goes. Our other projection here would be just a regular ending diagonal. Okay, so this is going to be a busy chart. Let's go ahead and kind of clean this up a bit. Okay, now this one says, just look at the structure here. So we have an A, B, C for wave 1. This is just all wave 1. We correct for wave 2. Wave 3 is larger than wave 1. And that has ended. And now we're going into our projected area where if this is an ending diagonal, again, they're all made of 3 waves, and each wave we'd be looking for, in this case, a 3-wave move down into some retracements. And I have these retracements around 466 all the way down to about 450. Okay. And that would be important because it's very typical for wave 4 to cross over wave 1 in an ending diagonal. So we look for a 3-wave move down to cross past this 200-day moving average. Doesn't have to, but it's a likely scenario if this is correct. We barely cross over this wave 1, end wave 4, and now we'd be looking for new highs into wave 5, and that kind of was the projection that I showed you a little bit earlier for the 560 zone. So this would be our alternate situation. All these lines in here, they're just time relationships. So we do have some time relationships all the way out into May. Okay, May 7 is a pretty big one. So with price heading lower, we'd probably, and we won't know until prices to a certain point. When it gets to about May 5th, we'll be looking, or May 7th, then we'll see where price is at that point, and that might be that might be a bottom for this move here. So looking out into May for some time relationships, and we'll go through there. We have lower time frame relationships as well. So let's go down to the 65. I think we covered everything we need to on there. We could put it, so we're starting to get into the slightly oversold area in the daily time frame, and we could see some little bounces here, but I suspect that we'll get much more oversold, and then we'll also be looking for some positive divergences as price continues to go lower, and then we'll be looking for a bounce. So don't get premature on buying these dips yet. We're underneath the 50-day moving average at this point, and we have much further to go in the slow stow, the RSI. The MACD is just now arriving around the middle point here, and we're probably going to go bearish on this move in the bear territory. So, and then we'll look for divergences to the upside as price gets much lower. We're really just kind of getting started on this move, you guys. All right. Let's go down to 65. In the 65 minute, here's the traditional technical analysis. We're coming into very minor support here, and clearly we're getting a little bit of green candle. It's around this 502, but we should probably see this options expected move pretty soon here. That's a safe bet, and you can take off risk if you want there, but I really don't see price stopping at this point this week. I still do think we move a little bit lower. This 495 zone, keep an eye on that. We'll draw in some other supports, but we'll pay attention to this 495 so far at this point, and we'll continue lower, I do suspect. And then, but I want to show you this first projection here. This is kind of our first projection for this move. So we started to draw this as a 1-2, and then a 1-2, ABC for 2, that's expanding, or excuse me, a running flat. And now we're on a just like a micro wave here, and at this point, that would be, today we had our bounce for another 1-2. So we have 3 1-2s here, and so what this really matters is towards the end of these moves when we get into the 4-5s, and I don't want you. It's fine to buy calls as a hedge, or if you're just doing just some very small call buying later on, but really we're in a downtrend, so I wouldn't recommend that. But to do as you please, whatever kind of trader you are. But we should get in this 1-2, and this wave 3 should complete somewhere around 498. That's a extension move from the top of wave 1 down to the bottom of wave 1, and then to the beginning of wave 2. The projection is about 498. All right, so that's just for wave 3. Then we'll have some sort of 20 to 40% bounce, be more of a sideways move. Then these are all sharp moves, deep retracements for wave 2. Those perfectly normal for deep retracement, but now things happen kind of opposite. The momentum's heading to the downside. So our bounces will be shallow and possibly time consuming, where you have triangles and flats. So you have the end of wave 3, possibly around 498. Some dead cat bounce. You see, we do have a time relationship around 419. I'll get rid of all these little ones. There's nothing really to compare it with right here. So it's just kind of making this messy. But this wave 3 should end around 498 or so, possibly today, tomorrow, somewhere in the near future. Get a little bit of a bounce. And again, I'll probably add some little hedges on just to protect our account. We'll get out of some of our really short-term options. And then it should continue. But this should be much more choppy and possibly ending diagonals at this point. So don't buy all these dips. Don't just buy all these dips. And so this first move, this wave 5, I think it would be safe to say this wave 5, that support I was talking about at 495, I think it's safe to say that move might complete around that area. It makes sense. I don't know what the time frame is going to be. It could be any of these relationships. I'm going to add on more. I'm going to do some more work on the timing. But 495 seemed like a good area for this wave, this micro impulse wave would end. All right, and then we still have another bounce to go, and then more room to the downside in the turquoise. And then we have another bounce and further down to go for the white 1-2. All right, so we have more targets, and we'll add on some more targets and talk about these videos, talk about them in these videos kind of day by day as things happen. So just know the important zone we're looking at for today is 498 for our first bounce, for our first dead gap bounce. This move here is like a spring, and now it's starting to unload, it's starting to expand, and then we should see some resolution much lower. Okay, so I'll show you on the technical analysis, not this move here, but the next, this 495 area. This consolidation zone should be kind of that the end of this expanding wave 3 here, somewhere around 495. That zone, you have a lot of support here, some volume going on here. All right, next, just jump to the Qs, and we're getting close to that options expected move, and that is some little bit of some support here. But again, these megatech stocks that I'm getting ready to zoom through have more room to the downside. So this will drag the market lower. We'll probably see maybe some bounces around 421. And this is a good zone. This is a good once resistance. And also, as time goes by, you have this this trend line down here. So I could see this coming into play fairly quick into possibly into this week or next week, around 412 to 408. And this would be a good zone for a bounce. We'll see what happens. We'll see where our counts are going into this area. We start breaking down from these two zones. That's going to be a very important break for the bears. And now, as we talked about on Friday, the tech should start taking over to lead to the downside. That would be kind of our confirmation that this is, and it is today, but it has to play catch up to the downside for this move to kind of confirm that we're heading lower. All right, we'll just check out VIX, and then I'll run through a couple of those megatech stocks just so you can see the options expected move. If you're not familiar with the options expected move, I do have a video on that. I'll put that above and at the end of the video. Okay, so VIX is now starting to break the 19 area. We rejected off of it pretty hard, back tested the flag breakout that we had from Friday, and now are starting to break out. These zones there's huge room to the upside. All right, I'm serious when I tell you I think this thing is gonna probably run up into the 90-100 area. All right, so we're starting to get these. Start to break resistance, and let's see where we go after we break over 19. See if we can hold 19 and continue to work its way to the upside, and that would mean the market is going to the downside. All right, quickly through Apple be our first. Apple, I mentioned this in the room that we're back up at resistance on Friday. Nice big short squeeze. But now Apple's heading down to the options expected move around 172. So a little bit more room to go there. And we're going to be able to tell who's starting to lead on the downside by looking at the options expected move. It kind of gives us a barometer of, what's a little bit more in control to the downside or upside whenever some will make it to the options expected move and stop and maybe get a bounce. Others are going to just rip through it and have, gamma, in this case, to the downside and just continue their massive move and start to accelerate. All right, so Amazon, a lot more room to go, 179. It's at 183 right now. Meta had a really good short on this. Still has room to go, around 489. Google, still plenty of room. It's down by the bottom of the channel here. that we've drawn, 152. So still some room to go, 3 points. Microsoft broke down from its sideways triangle, also uptrend lines, up the we had a channel drawn there, broken down after back testing around 410. And again, a lot of these stocks, I mean, Tesla's just a dog. So Tesla's already at its options expected move. I don't expect much more from Tesla. It's just been beaten up. So we're not touching that. I don't know how far much lower it's going to go. NVDA, I know NVDA is right back at its channel. We had the fake break underneath there. Got back up for a retracement, and I think this is going to be much more of a 1-2 pattern. And NVIDIA, I think, will start taking over to the downside. Right now, it's right at its support, and again, the options expected move is somewhat lower there. I think that's it. We'll check out SMH just for shits and giggles, and Bitcoin, we are shorting Bitcoin by using BITI, B-I-T-I calls, by the way. And so you see finally SMH had that sideways move. It's just really been in a sideways pattern for a long time here. We're starting to break down from that, and SMH should really, the semiconductor should start leading to the downside, and really pulling tech with it. So you see, it's not yet to the options expected move to the downside. And BITO, this is the ETF for Bitcoin. We had a descending triangle, and we broke down from that triangle. And so we have a nice, just from the measured move on this one, we're going to have a nice short play on this one. So if you just take a line and measure that up from top to bottom, and here's the breakdown zone, we're looking at getting to the point of control here around 2360 fairly quick. I do imagine that this is going to happen within a week or two. So we'll be looking for a pretty harsh move along with the market, with Bitcoin as well. All right. I'm going to leave you with that, and we'll continue this conversation tomorrow and kind of work out a little bit more targets for us to look for on the downside as we get into that first zone that I was talking about. All right. Thanks for joining us here at Options Center. Have a wonderful day. We will talk to you tomorrow.